What do you mean?
What are you saying?
Yo, it's a 4 out of 5 for me as opposed to like, that ain't it. That ain't it. The hell do you know?
That was the one that sent me, I don't know, Usher, but that one it. Like,
we literally watched 13 minutes of a total performance. If 12 minutes and 59 seconds were killer, you throw away the whole thing for 1 second?
Yeah.
How goofy are you?
When Alicia misses that note
and
everybody's just like,
which is the most natural, normal thing. And then she recovers so quickly.
And it really
that is not even a thing.
That bad.
That note is not a thing.
Stay Sharp, episode 32. I'm Jordan Ray, and joining me is my other half, Rashad Tyler.
I'm here.
We are the duo behind Rare Label.
That's we.
That also powers this podcast and also supports brands and businesses from strategy to implementation.
Always.
You are here to go to school on or just observe our experiences. And if you like what you see, make sure you click that subscribe button. Great timing. And definitely feel free to hit us up if you are looking for support on any of your projects. We have a call link in our email and our capabilities deck, all in the show description for you to check out and take advantage of.
Fall through. And we got a new portfolio coming soon too. So just like an update on the latest projects that we've been working on to give you even more context on what it is that we do.
Yes.
Indeed.
Well, it is episode 32. You mentioned it's the Magic Johnson episode.
Yo, so I don't even know if I want to bring this up, but there's a take from Nav Green's show. I'm sure you would, it's outside of your space, but Navi Green is like one of the guys from the 95 South ecosystem. He's hilarious. I've always loved him. I think he's hilarious. But it's a Magic Johnson take that one of his guests gave and why he said Magic was the greatest of all time. And the summary is, the punchline is, like, he beat AIDS. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody else beat the Spurs. You beat, you beat Czechoslovakia in the Olympics. He beat AIDS. And he goes on, he's like, AIDS whooped Arthur Ashe, it whooped all this. And it's just like, yo.
Look, I bet
it's such a great take that's so like painfully like, but it's funny as hell.
He probably was dead serious
too. Dying, yo. Because he keeps a straight face the whole time. He was like, nah, Magic that won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, welcome you all to the Magic Johnson episode. We didn't do that for episode 23. We didn't do that for episode 30. We could have done that.
Oh, that's
like
right.
All of these. Anyways, we'll keep that in mind.
This is the first time I realized that.
We're getting kind of high now. Okay.
This is the first time I realized that Steph Curry's number, like, that's the first
30,
moment I've ever crystallized. Oh, 30.
Yeah. His number isn't really like
it ain't popping.
Like yeah.
It's crazy.
It's his, but
0, on the other hand.
Yeah.
It's probably the best number.
Well, we can go back and have an episode 0 because we don't have episodes 0.
All right, say less.
So today's conversation is talking and exploring what we're calling toxic expectations and how to avoid those, move around those, acknowledge those, and lead us into a more satisfied personal and professional experience.
Yeah.
Lead us into being a more satisfied person. Because lately, I've been feeling like people just are not satisfied. Like, nothing is enough, especially when it comes to social media and the things that we're just kind of tipping into on a day-to-day basis through, obviously, I just said media, but even in our daily lives, like, we're just not happy all the time. And
we never were, but it seems much louder now.
And maybe
some of that could be maturity age, but it seems like even younger people are having a tougher time.
And maybe more specifically, because I know that a few episodes back, we did talk about anxiety and depression. This is not the same conversation. Like, we're not coming back a few weeks later and saying like, why aren't you happy? Like, that's not what we're doing. Maybe more specifically, I'll say this is that the outward negativity and the outward complaining about things that other people are doing or things that you're passing judgment on is just ridiculous. So the whole Usher fizzles on the Super Bowl stage and the whole clickbait, painfully mediocre headlines that we read about the performance on Super Bowl. Now, this is a few weeks ago now. But
like, you're just a hater. Like, it's one of the few times, like, when we're watching, because I will say exactly how I'm thinking about something as it's happening so that I'm not, like, backpedaling or like shifting how I felt or experienced something. Or influenced
by something else.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm documenting, especially with you, like where I'm sitting and real time going like, this is one of the greatest of all time. Like, so many boxes are being checked right now. It's more boxes being checked than I think is even on anybody else's boxes that can be checked. From a dance standpoint, like, it was just street stuff. He had Circus Soleil, you know, he even starts dancing on skates, you know. It's the versions of dance to ballads. There's the solo dance stuff. There is dances with men, with women. It's just so many layers. Then he sings the slow songs. He actually sings everything down for the most part, right?
Yeah.
He just did it all. Like, when you get down to the fact that he started far out on the field, did the moonwalk on turf. Like, come on, moonwalk on turf. Then, right, he backs up and moves and gets onto the stage. The stage has this amazing set of screens on it. At the moment where it's like the shadow on 7 o'clock, I'm like, oh, like,
how many times have you watched this?
I've only watched it one time, but that's how like specific and very clear the combination of production, choreography, you know, like role and everything.
The story, just the unfolding of it.
Yeah.
So why weren't people satisfied? Because I got on social media shortly after.
Yeah.
And one of the first posts that I saw, maybe Complex, and I'm scrolling through the comments and so many people were like,
Troll.
That ain't it.
Troll.
Yeah, Usher, I don't know what that was. And I'm literally sitting there like, is this for real?
Yeah,
are
you
people
second guessing yourself. Like, what?
No, not about the performance, but are people joking
comments.
Or are they serious? And then it turns out that a lot of people really didn't like it.
But that's still so ridiculous to me.
But they couldn't articulate why, which is what the toxic expectations is about. Because, okay, if Usher's Super Bowl performance at halftime was held to this high standard, which it absolutely should have been because it's that type of moment. But why are we expecting something but not able to say and predict or get in front of, this is what I would like to see from Usher?
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about what song he was going to open with. There wasn't anybody that was like, yeah, I'd like to see some strippers on a pole, or I would like to see him utilize an HBCU band.
By the way. Yeah. And HBCU band.
Dancers on a pole. Like, not strippers. Like, you get what I'm saying.
But still, it's still a box checked.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. So real quick though, but like, why weren't people satisfied?
Yeah. There is a real problem there. We are either judging things that we have no clue how to contextualize them, or we just are chronically dissatisfied. I'm not sure exactly how to frame it.
Yeah, that was what I think bothered me the most, is that feeling that so many people are just not really qualified and informed enough to pass this type of judgment on a halftime Super Bowl performance.
Yeah.
Just come on.
You've never sang before. You never danced before. You've
did a
never done
TikTok.
production. So there's no way for you to have an appreciation for anybody that's contributed to this thing because you don't have a frame of reference.
That's where
a great point. Yeah.
That's where I always try to come from is, okay, I may not understand what I just looked at.
Yeah.
And it's, okay, let's go back a year to Rihanna's Super Bowl performance.
Yeah.
In real time, we are watching this. And I remember exactly where we were. And you were just like, yeah, she ain't really deliver. The Rihanna that I'm familiar with, maybe would have done this. You were able to articulate.
Because I'm going to articulate after you.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to articulate why, which I was like, I respect why you are judging her performance a certain way, because you're able to say, well, these were the things that I felt like were missed or so on and so forth. But in that moment, to just confirm and to let everybody know where I stood was like, I don't understand what I just saw.
Yeah.
Not a choreographer. I'm not a performer, never been on stage to any extent like that. So it's just like, I just have the most appreciation that she was even able to do that and that she gave us what she freaking did.
Yeah.
So, I thought Usher was great.
That's the right thing, that you have just a basic appreciation for somebody showing up and doing their best, right?
Because that's part of me trying to manage that expectation. Yeah. It's like, I don't expect Rihanna, I don't know.
Yeah. And I will say that I think with context, she was phenomenal with context. But I also thought in the pantheon of opportunities or moments, and maybe that was where they looked at it like, well, it's now or never. Potentially, mm-hmm. We don't know enough about somebody's personal life and their life decisions and kind of what they want to do with the rest of their time. She may not want to be doing music like that. Who knows, right? She's a billionaire, for God's sake. But comparing her to the upper 25, 50 greatest artists to ever walk the planet, I'm ranking what is going to be compared. Whether you acknowledge that or fans of hers or people that are holding her up acknowledge that or not, it's like she has one of the greatest catalogs of all time. I would love to see a show that also highlights not only this catalog, but her as a performer in the same light as Janet, Beyonce, and all the rest of that. And with that context, right, compared to all of the greats, I thought it was subpar given that type of comparison. Now, compared to the rest of the artists in the world who are outside of the top 50 to ever live, it's phenomenal, right? But it's just a different grading scale.
No, definitely. And that's definitely, I respect why you are sharing it from that perspective. You're able to break it down. All of these people that are passing.
Wouldn't you think, like, if it's Rihanna, like, you got this opportunity, let's make sure you have a top 5 performance? Because I feel like Usher is number 2 all time, and respectfully to the Prince performance, because, and we're all romantic about it, like that it rained during Purple Rain. It's just a level of serendipity that you can't create. Yeah. But I thought he was better, respectfully, than Beyonce, U2, Michael's was just, it was just before a time where the production was up to. But we're going too far off the path, but I just wanted to make sure I gave the Rihanna conversation the proper respect.
And did.
Yeah.
Let's talk through the process of having an undefined or an unrealistic expectation that leads us to being disappointed. And we want to avoid that, but let's talk about what might we be doing? Because this is we're not projecting here and saying, oh, maybe because we've experienced this too.
Yes.
Like, I've had undefined expectations, unrealistic expectations, but what's that process? And why do we get stuck in that?
I don't know. I, for one, believe that it's weird that people are so eager to give a binary response to something, like the yes, no, like just the black or white, right?
It's good or bad.
Or something. Yeah, like
win or loser.
Yeah, exactly.
One or the other. Yeah.
I think it's weird that we don't talk more about the spectrum. Because even in the Rihanna reference, I'm referencing the spectrum, right? Like even the spectrum saying like this class of performers. So when you're here is this is between 8 and 10. This is not below an 8 on no grading scale. So Rihanna can't deliver a 6. She's already 8 to 10. So when you're scoring Usher, you're scoring them 9, 9.5, like it's the Olympics. Right. But I also think that it's bizarre that we don't have a target at all and then complain about a miss. Like, how can you grade a shot when there's no target?
How can you make the shot when there's no target?
I think that's the definition of impossible.
No basket. We messed that all up. But yeah, how do you make a shot? There's no basket. And
even if you use like the bullseye as the target type, you can't hit something on a dartboard when there's no dartboard. You can say, yo, it's a 4 out of 5 for me, as opposed to like, that ain't it. I just think it's frustrating when that happens. Like that ain't it. The hell do you know?
Yeah. That was the one that sent me,
Yeah.
I don't know, Usher, but that one need like.
What do you mean?
What are you saying?
So we literally watched 13 minutes of a total performance. If 12 minutes and 59 seconds were killer, you throw away the whole thing for 1 second?
Yeah.
How goofy are you?
When Alicia misses that note and everybody's just like,
which is the most natural, normal thing. And then she recovers so quickly.
And it really
that is not even a thing.
That bad.
It's not a thing. Like that note is not a thing.
I just have to emphasize once more that I take the stance of admitting, I don't know what I just watched. I don't have enough information. I'm not informed. I'm not privy to and up to speed on what those types of things take.
Which is a tremendous form of respect.
Yeah, and like that, I'm just always glad to just be a witness. Because I don't know, like literally, I don't know what I just saw. If it was good or if it was bad. And I just respect that the team that put that type of thing together, that they literally put their best foot forward. Correct. Like they gave it their all. That's the ultimate performance stage to be on. There's not a bigger one.
Number 12 time for real.
It's as simple as if you don't have anything to really convey, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Because likely no one asked, especially like on the internet. Most of these people, they're not asking your opinion. So just keep it to yourself or practice managing your toxic expectations. Like we're going to, share more about right now.
Yeah. So is there like for you, an experience of like an unrealistic or undefined set of expectations pushed on by other people or by yourself? It could be wide in that way.
Yeah. The route I'll take with this is pushed on by myself. Because I think that's been the ultimate hurdle for me is the undefined expectations of myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say that they've been unrealistic. They've been undefined. And that led to a lot of distress for me because I'm wondering what my purpose is almost. Like that kind of question coming up and combing through and trying to like pull the layers back. Why do I feel so poorly about myself? Realizing through, self-realization and just trying to think through this and understand what's going on. Oh, like I have undefined expectations of myself.
Yeah.
What am I going to do about that? Like what is that
just
for
like,
me?
Just like unhappy, just in the like, but you can't point to what is creating the.
I think I can eventually point to it, or I could, but it's being, really self-critical, being your worst critic to transitioning from being so negative and your, might be self-talk and just being unhappy and being discontent.
Yeah.
moving from that into I am going to give myself grace and I'm going to have self-compassion. Like that's not even something that for so long in my life has really meant anything to me. I'm like, oh, you give other people compassion. You show other people compassion.
Yeah.
But now over the last couple of years, I'm like, wait, hold on. No, like you can show yourself compassion.
Yeah.
And then it starts with that. So you know how to really do that and hold that for yourself so that you can do it for other people.
Yeah.
Just never thought that some of these things were as inner and inward as they are.
Yeah.
So having those undefined expectations of myself, I'm just moving through that so I can define the expectations that I have of myself. And that is, to have more and more grace and to explore what that really means, to be more empathetic, to lean into disciplines that I know that are going to keep me grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And really buy into, like we talk about wellness and, just the habits and the routines that we have. That stuff is so important and sacred and dear to me. So like I cling to some of the stuff that I'm able to now, explore
mm-hmm.
and notice and nourish.
So some of this is actually like letting a lot of expectation of all sorts go.
Possibly that too. Yeah. If you're philosophically talking.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like when I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm going like, oh, like it's grace, it's more space. It's not held on to like some emotional, like external, compliment or some external reward that's coming from some place that you don't necessarily know or expect to make you feel present or appreciated or none of that. It's just like, I don't have an expectation for good or bad to come into my life. I'm okay with how things move. I want to be careful not to be
perhaps that is
summarizing
perhaps that's what I'm learning, and that's okay if you interpret it that, even though that's not the way that I'm describing it, because I don't think that it makes sense to me right now to, I'm letting go of my expectations.
No.
Necessarily, but I could see a world where that is how it could be described, is that I'm just, I wouldn't quite say surrendering. That's not really what I'm trying to convey, but I'm redefining or for the first time, just really holding myself to a softer, not a softer expectation as in I don't go hard. Like I'm not a dog, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not someone who is ambitious.
But when you need to rest, you're not disappointed that you need to rest.
Yes, the self-compassion. I'm not beating myself up about not doing something or missing something or being tired or I don't feel guilty. It's the self-compassion is like I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, you're such a
going into that
A type. I think it's what it's called. Like you're up there.
It's tough in here.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, give us your dirt. What about you?
Nah, I mean, I realize, as you're talking, like, I'm like, I'm such a goon or a goblin or however, like I haven't been very good with, like I've probably put people in scenarios where they don't have any experience for success of success in a spot where I expect them to turn in a win when there's no prior history of expertise or success in a space. It's almost like a dummy mission, but with a real expectation for success, not the expectation of learning or figuring it out. Like stakes on the line for a first time endeavor.
That's pretty toxic.
It's terrible. It's terrible. And in my more mature mind, I realized like that shouldn't happen. And like, I'm apologetic to the people I may have done it to. Some people are going to claim that's what I did. It's like, no, some of the people that kind of thing happens to are better for it because they were challenged. But the problem overall is there really a downside, a real like painful landing for failure? And I think sometimes I've created a painful landing for failure as opposed to creating a challenge where they needed to step up to, but there was no real penalty for not getting it done or figuring it out. So
yeah,
I gotta, admit to that.
But you've been able to work on that.
Oh yeah.
When do you remember or realize that you noticed that's you were holding people to that expectation?
I'm realizing it more and more every day. But when I started to bake in room for failure in all things, like it just stopped being a thing for me to be concerned about. So everything that I'm doing is for growth. So it's a different mindset that I've had, but like being in early leadership positions, like going, well, you'll figure it out. Like it's got to be figured out. And walking away and leaving somebody with that burden.
Yeah.
Who just may not be equipped.
Because you ended up feeling disappointed or being let down, or what was the
it's like,
feeling that you had?
When they failed, it's costing a job or it's costing money. And it's like, it's your fault. That person's fault.
Right. So it was frustration?
No, they lose their job or lose money or like whatever it is that was not what they signed up for.
Well, what I want to make the connection for is how it affected you, because like how our toxic expectations affect us. Of course, they could have, like in this case, it could affect someone else around you. Because
it created unnecessary tension between me and a person.
Mm-hmm.
It put the relationships possibly in jeopardy or put them in, a bad spot.
Got it.
And it's not fair. Like even as a coach, what if I'm saying, well, look, you need to hold LeBron to 12. In order for us to win, you hold LeBron to 12. All right, now you like, right? And then at the end of the game, like, we lose. If Jordan had held LeBron to 12, we would be all right. But what'd she do? She let him get 50. You see what I'm saying? It's like, she's 5'3", 5'5", somewhere between.
5'4".
There you go. Talk your shit. And, he's the greatest of all time. Like, what do you mean? Why would you set that expectation and then come back to the locker room and blast her for not doing a thing that she had no chance of doing to begin with? You know what that does to somebody's self-esteem?
Well, the relationship too.
Yeah. And they can no longer trust me because like, yo, he put me in that spot. Like, why would he do that? Like, now everybody's looking at me crazy.
Yeah.
So I know I've done that a number of times. And for me, I'm going like, yeah, it would be tougher for it type of thing. But if other people took my judgment seriously, then it's a set of like problems that should have never existed. Is that more clear?
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. So something that someone could take away and do right away and implement right away in order to manage their toxic expectations. I'm not, if anybody watching is realizing, yeah, I do have an expectation that I need to like let go of or deal with or alter in some sort of way, and you're trying to work through that. It could be personal. It could be with the people around you, with your other half. It could be your parents. It could be your kids. Like, I'm not sure. But yeah, how would you guide and say, I really think that this would help someone navigating their toxicity levels?
Yeah, it's like the pair of things that I kind of already referenced that I think are really important, right? It's kind of leading every interaction or interpretation with an appreciation for the fact that somebody showed up and gave effort. I think it's ridiculous to not honor the effort. You have to make sure that there is no way for you to ignore the fact that somebody showed up and tried and gave everything that they could to this thing. It's impossible to think of something as a failure when you have that sort of appreciation for the very fact that they put forth the energy, because the loser is the person who didn't try, right? I think the other part is noticing what difference in yourself comes when you have been challenged with something that didn't have a definition and you reached a further or a different type of personal height. as a result of not having it and still going, well, I didn't quite know what I was getting into. I didn't quite know what to expect, but I'm going to spend a little bit more time understanding the road traveled. I think that's a very intelligent way of not giving a hard definition for what you didn't experience and get away from that wasn't it, to going like, you know what? I don't quite know how to interpret that. It looks like they worked really freaking hard on it. So I'm going to respect it by going like, yo, I need to learn a little bit more, because that's what non-definition can do. It can leave room for you to come into definition.
Absolutely. Like you've discovered that along the way.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Just because you don't know now doesn't mean that you can't know in the future. So why should you judge or leave the conversation with your knowledge today when you can come back with a better knowledge tomorrow?
It sounds like you're also saying to extend a lot of gratitude, in those moments, and you use the word appreciation. But you already express a lot of gratitude, but you're saying, okay, I need to express even more in these certain areas when people are showing up, and nurture that into something better than maybe what it is, even if it's not defined.
That's right.
Yeah. Personally, on the personal level, because I think you're coming at an angle, like, you're talking about a relationship maybe with someone else. And the things that's been most helpful for me is to prioritize and do one thing at a time, like prioritize one thing at a time. I think we have a tendency to want to make a change when we recognize that something's wrong, like we're not feeling well, we want to do better for ourselves or whatever. And we're in this rut to just try to change everything or change a lot at once. And it's been helpful for me to just focus on one thing, this one, I'm not sure if it's a habit or it's a, can be anything, like a thought process or a routine, and just focus on that one thing for however long that it takes for you to really lock in on that. And then once you got that under wraps, you can move on to the next thing, you know, and not overwhelm yourself, because then again, that's just toxic expectations to place on yourself. Okay, I'm going to do all these things and make all these changes so I can move through this unrealistic expectation of myself, or this undefined expectation of someone else. But it's no. Let me just settle down, do one thing at a time, not overwhelm myself, and just one step in front of the other, one moment at a time.
Yeah.
And it builds up and it ends up at the end of the day really adding up.
It's not bad.
Yeah. It's my little.
That's your wrap it up. Your wrap it up sound.
That might be my wrap it up sound. Yeah. If you took anything from what we shared, if any, thing helped or resonated, or a light bulb came on, or there's an undefined or unrealistic expectation that you've moved through and there's a way that you did so, please let us know in the notes, in the comments. We would love to hear from you. We want to remind y'all too, if you want to set a call with Rashad or I, that's available in the show description. All of our information, the capabilities deck, contacts, website, all of that stuff. Be sure to check that out, and we will see you all soon. Thank you for sitting in on another episode of
Stay Sharp. I like the setup. Oh, dunk that, my boy.
Boom.
Holla at y'all.